Good morning, everyone. Treasure Troller here from the militant state of Michigan. It's been a while. Not much to really talk about. It's the same old, but I have found something different. I have found a David and Goliath, maybe the unsung hero of Donald Trump's legal team, and he's not even retained by Donald Trump. But it's a rocky road. His name is Joe Neerman, and he goes by Good Logic, and it's LAWGIC. He is an attorney. I believe he lives in New Jersey, but he does a lot of litigation in New York. He spends a lot of his time now doing YouTube stuff, talking over legal stuff and other topics. Well, there was a lawyer by the name of Robert Barnes, and he's part of Viva Barnes Law, but they sort of challenged Good Logic to come up with an argument, a legal argument, to get the gag order removed from Donald Trump. So he put his oral arguments together, and since I'm not an attorney, and I'll provide the link from his first appellate division that was, I think, yesterday. But it's from his show from last night. I'll put it on there if you want to watch it. Basically, what his argument is comes down to the Supreme Court has said there is a very, very fine line between taking away someone's First Amendment rights, and what's been precedence has been you only do that if it's going to infringe on someone else's First Amendment rights. And I don't know what this judge that's on this Stormy Daniels case, the one that put the gag order on him, a lot of the case law that he cited for doing this gag order said, no, you can't do the gag order for this. There's a very fine distinction when you can actually do it. So he put together this argument. And he took it to this, like I said, this first floor appellate division to argue that this gag order is unconstitutional. And he found himself sort of in a room, not necessarily a court of law, with the judge and two attorneys from, I think it's the district attorney's office, Manhattan, maybe? And anyways, he laid out his arguments. And the two attorneys, the first one got up and said, we've already talked about this. There's no reason to move the date of the court date or delay it or anything. We've already talked about this. The second one got up. See, Joe also, in order to get into some of these court cases, has got a press pass. And in New York, I guess it's the city, to get a press pass, you basically have to put together about 6 minutes of like news reporting, maybe 3 or 4 different YouTube videos of like news, and you submit this request for a press pass. You put the YouTube links, and you pay like $35, and you get a press pass. So the first attorney was arguing how we've already talked about this. There should be no delay in the trial. The second guy gets up and says, who is this guy? I mean, he's a YouTube guy. Is he really a member of the press? And he's sitting there with his press pass on. This guy isn't part of the press. He's YouTube. And so the first argument about the delay was he wasn't asking for that. But anyways, the judge wasn't going to denied his motion. He's got to take it to another appellate court first part of next month. And he tried to get a temporary stay on the gag order until at least that trial date, that court date. And the judge said no. Even though he had all the legal precedent on his side, and there was really nothing that the other attorneys brought up, the judge said no. And I think this is why Donald Trump is going to have a difficult time winning some of these cases. And this is coming from good logic. This isn't just me. This is from him. He was, as much as he'll take this as the Supreme Court, but he's a one-man operation. He doesn't have people helping him, but he doesn't have the name. He doesn't have the gravitas. He's thinking like, if it was Alan Dershowitz that brought this in there, everybody would go, oh, geez, he's taken up. This must be something here. I mean, it's not Alan Dershowitz. It's just a YouTube guy. Is he even a reporter? So there's the aspect of there's not, even with good logic feels, he needs to have an attorney that has some gravitas behind their name to push forward some of these cases, especially his case. And you don't really see that type of legal team that Donald Trump has. These cases aren't decided really by law. You know, Alan Bragg is supposed to be, oh, this big district attorney, and, you know, these other Fanny or Fawny, they're just names. They don't have a lot of legal case or legal precedents behind them, but they have the name. And Trump doesn't really have that. And I think that's going to be a major hurdle for him unless some of these more well-known attorneys out there, you know, get off Fox News and stop doing, you know, like Alan, stop with your YouTube channel and, you know, help a brother out. If you know they're wrong, then help them out. And the other thing, too, is he was talking about, which I think this might even be a bigger one. Because it kind of comes down to, he was talking about, he didn't expect to get the stay on the gag order. And he didn't expect it because while he was working as an attorney, he had a client who had a nursing home. And they were basically closing this guy down. And so he says, hey, you've got to help me out here. You got to stop them from shutting me down. And he really felt it was mostly a politically motivated. And it's like, why are they trying to shut you down? He's like, well, for paint. You know, the rooms need paint or something. Very minor things. So he said he worked really hard. He worked nonstop. He put these oral arguments together. They were even, the state of New York was even going against their protocols for shutting down homes. And they were breaking all the rules, and they were they weren't following any of their guidelines, and they were shutting this guy down. And he says he drove all the way up to Albany. He got in front of a judge, and the judge called the, I believe he called the Attorney General's office. He got a state attorney on the phone, and the attorney's going, yeah, I really don't know anything about this case. I just don't know. He couldn't come up with a reason why they were doing this. And the judge said to the guy on the phone, the attorney on the phone, he said, if I reverse this, am I putting anybody's life in danger? And he said, I don't know, maybe. And he says, okay. And so he denied it. And he said, look, there's not going to be a judge out there that's going to overturn this for fear that someone might get hurt. And he feels sort of the same way about, boy, if you would just remove this gag order, the millions of people that are going to descend upon you, 300 million people could descend upon you for this. There could be some, I guess, safety concerns, you know, more protests, whatever, maybe violent protests. So there's no judge that's going to overturn that. And so that's why I think it's going to be tough for Trump. And maybe that's why the big name attorneys are staying away, because they know there isn't going to be a judge out there that's going to overturn something that's going to piss off 300 million people. Well, what I don't understand, and as much as I understand that part of the argument, what I don't understand and why a judge would feel that way, especially in New York, when they're arresting criminals and then they turn them back out on the street and they just hurt more people. Those judges don't have any, boy, if I don't put this guy in jail, someone else might get hurt. I mean, that doesn't bother them. Maybe it's the votes. I don't know, but I don't quite, I understand where he's coming from. But then again, it doesn't seem like that's exactly the way that the legal system is working right now, when they're basically letting criminals back out on the street, like with these no bail arrests or charges. But I guess if you're wondering why, you know, Alan Dershowitz will get on Fox News and talk about how these cases are without merit and they're just ridiculous, why he's not joining in. And maybe it's because deep down inside they know that there isn't going to, judges are appointed, so, but they're not going to do anything that's going to hurt their political career, or they're not going to do something that is going to start some sort of riot and somebody gets hurt, and then they're going to blame them for it. So, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But check out Good Logic. And I'll try to get a link in there. It's on, I watch him on Rumble, so I'm sure he's on YouTube. But like I said, it's GODLAWGIC. And I'll try to provide the link in it. So this is Treasure Troller saying aloha and good day.